Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
This is the Locker Room Podcast.
This is the Locker Room. Rick DiPietro, Sean Farnham, Antonie Walker here with you. Our phone call line, we're opening up the phone call line right now, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. We're talking about the dominance we've seen so far in the playoffs. Is it good for the NBA? And, of course, we're talking about LeBron James because as he continues to do what he's done, the conversation continues to shift and the dialogue seems to focus on Michael Jordan. And in your mind, how close is he? Has he already surpassed him? Looking to go for 7 straight NBA Finals appearances. And remember, Barbasol, never a bad time to talk about Barbasol and get a clean shave. The Brand America Trust for the closest, most comfortable shave. Premium disposable razors with a pivoting head and ultra-thin blades. You're looking good, America, if you're shaving with Barbasol. Let's start with Joe in the Bronx listening to us on 98.7 ESPN. Joe, what's up? How you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Definitely, man. What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Good,
doing
good.
Well.
Listen, he might not be Jordan, but he's definitely going to be in the Mount Rushmore of basketball players. The man went to Miami after they got knocked out in the first round, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And, Kevin Durant, he goes to a team with the best record of all time and just rides the coattails. He's a great player, but, I can't respect it. You can't not do that. That's like LeBron getting beat by Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, and then next year he's going to go join them. That's unheard of. Kevin Durant, I cannot respect that. He's a good player, but he riding the coattails. He's not an alpha male. LeBron James, he might not be Michael Jordan, but he's going to be on the Mount Rushmore, man. I love the guy, and I can't wait till they beat Golden State. You know what is Kevin Durant going to say then after they lose to Cleveland? That's what I want to know. What is he going to say after that? They're going to look at him like, you made us lose. Yeah.
All right, I appreciate the phone call, Joe. Antoine, go ahead. I'll let you dive in on that one.
Well, it's kind of, a man after my own heart is what we talked about to kick off the show, and I was talking about that. And just a lot of, just from the old school and a lot of older players and guys that played this game, and you're a very competitive guy, we get upset that Kevin Durant went and joined a team that was 73, that has 73 wins and has been to the championship twice and was up 3-1, and they didn't necessarily need him. He didn't necessarily, obviously, he's obviously one of the top 3 players probably in the game right now, but they didn't need him. And he took the competitive aspect out of it where we could have seen him and Westbrook and battle these guys maybe for a couple years. But unfortunately, in the free agency market, you can go where you want to go, so you have to respect that. I'm like what Rick said early on, these opportunities don't come around for a lot of athletes in sports where you get to pick where you want to play at. So I do understand that. And if it was purely off that part of it, kudos to Kevin Durant having the opportunity to go play for a team that he wanted to play for. So I do understand that part of it. LeBron James being on the Mount Rushmore.
Isn't he already there? That's the thing. He's going to be there. I've already got him there. I'm not, Rick, I don't know how you see it, but he's already on the Mount Rushmore for me.
You know what it is, too, though? And let's not forget, when Kevin Durant, before he got hurt, he went to a team, with Klay Thompson, the unanimous MVP, and Steph Curry and Draymond Green. But during the first half of the season before he got hurt, he was still the best player on that team. Even with those great players, he was still the best player on that team. We were talking about how much better he was defensively. So, there was an argument that he was probably the second best player in the entire NBA. So we'll start there. The second thing is this. As far as LeBron James being on the Mount Rushmore, absolutely 100%. And we have Bill Daughtry, who works at the station with us in New York, and he always says how he breaks it down is you're in the schoolyard, and you got Michael Jordan, and you got LeBron James. You don't know past achievements. You don't know anything. You just have those 2 guys. Who you taking? And I think a lot of people would tell you if you get rid of the whole 6 for 6 in championships and the mystique of Michael Jordan, you look at a guy like LeBron James at his size, his versatility, you'd probably take on strictly basketball talent LeBron James, no?
Well, here's the thing to me, too, because he's been the chosen one for a very long time. Back in high school, everybody was talking about how he was next. He was going to live up to it. Antoine, you know this as much as anybody in the basketball world. How many times have we heard this guy's next, he's unbelievable because of what they're accomplishing on the AAU circuit or in the high school world, and then they show up to the NBA and they fail to live up to expectations. Here's one in LeBron James who embraced it from the start and has mentally, seemingly, I mean, outside of the show, the decision that everybody kind of got upset about, and I didn't have a problem with that as much, but he's handled himself correctly. He's been a dominating figure, and he has lived up to the hype and probably exceeded that hype.
Yeah, I think that's what people, the way LeBron's did it, I think that's what maybe irks people a little bit when you think about he was in Cleveland. But the reason why he left Cleveland, it wasn't so much he couldn't get nobody to come there and play with him. He knew for him to win a title, he needed to have another superstar alongside him. So you got to give him credit. He hung in there and stuck in there until trying to figure out somebody going to come play. He tried Antoine Jameson, who was still in his prime. Shaquille O'Neal kind of was towards the end of his career. Mo Williams was probably the biggest guy that I think he got to the finals with Mo Williams. He just really couldn't get the correct supporting cast. So he saw opportunity with D. Wade in Miami and Chris Bosh. He asked Chris Bosh to come to Cleveland first, and Chris Bosh said no. So he had different, he said no. He didn't want to go to Cleveland. Nobody wants to live in Cleveland. I understand that too. Cleveland's not necessarily the greatest place to live, but he didn't want to go to Cleveland, so they chose Miami. And then obviously, you could tell because he went back. Cleveland was not very good when he went back. They had Kyrie Irving, who was a young star, but he went back and wanted to go bring a championship to a city. So we got to give him some credit for that. For me, as LeBron and Michael is always a tough conversation. Me growing up in Chicago, seeing Michael and obviously working out with Michael and being good friends with Michael for so long. He's not there with Michael. He's very close. I thought the third championship put him in the top 5 ever. And obviously right now he can continue to move up that ladder for me. But I didn't have him in the top 5 until after he won his third title last year.
All right, let's go to Brandon in Indiana listening to us on Sirius XM. Brandon, what's up? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining the locker room.
I'm doing pretty good. Okay, so I feel like LeBron is clearly the best player of the generation, and it's fair to put him on some people's Mount Rushmores. That's all good, but the Jordan thing is just really ridiculous at this point. I mean, I look at a dude who played 82 games, 10 times in his career. He never averaged below 30 in the playoffs. I mean, his stats are better than LeBron's stats just per season for a career. So it's not even statistically that he's even better. And then if you want to talk about upping your game in the playoffs, no one upped their game in the playoffs.
Nobody was better than Jordan at that. No one's going to argue with you on that one, Brandon. No one was better than Jordan at it. But can you agree that they're very different players? Look, Michael is a unique talent, but they do things differently out on the floor. Their size, their strength, the athleticism, they're very different. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying that it's different.
LeBron is the greatest. He's the most athletic person of all time. I've been saying that for a long time. I mean, he's a freak. He's 6'9", 260, benches 350. I heard Shannon Sharp say that the other day. So, I mean, he's a monster. He was the number 1 wide receiver recruit in the nation. He's just a beast. I mean, that kind of takes away from how I looked at him for a little while, because I didn't appreciate that he didn't hone in on some other skills when he was younger. But now he's playing it at an ultimate level. I love it. But
right, he's improved his game. And I appreciate your phone call, Brandon. Brandon, Rick, when you look at what he was just saying, though, I mean, we want to compare guys. And, okay, fine, you can compare guys from different generations. The league was different. There's more teams now. There's less teams back then. It was post-Larry and post-Magic Johnson for the most part when MJ had his most success. LeBron is a different kind of guy. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not taking away anything from MJ. MJ is the greatest of all time. But their stature, the way they play, I mean, LeBron James is a tight end in the NFL destroying the NBA.
I think the fairer comparison, and I've asked plenty of guys that played in the NBA, the whole Michael Jordan, LeBron James thing. I think the fairer comparison would probably be LeBron James to Magic Johnson. And I think, when you look at his size and his physicality, I mean, he is a guy that's 6'9", 275 pounds. He's a point guard, and his mindset is that of a point guard, right? He's always about making the best basketball play, and he would rather facilitate offense than necessarily, take that last shot. And I think people hold that against him. And I also think we'd be having a different conversation if, maybe he didn't have Chosen One tattooed on his back. Maybe if he didn't, come into the league wearing the number 23 and let everyone know that he's chasing the ghost of Michael Jordan. Because I think a lot of people that love Michael Jordan get protective of Michael Jordan's legacy. So they're quick to find reasons why Michael's always going to be better than LeBron James.
Yeah, and you got to also think about it, too. I mean, LeBron James had a lot of pressure on him coming into this league to live up to the hype. And let's be honest, he's lived up to it. He's been that guy. His career has been unbelievable. He hasn't maybe done it the way everybody wants him to do it, but his ability to live up to the hype and to take on that responsibility and to carry himself on and off the court in a very professional manner, he's done it the right way. So, we got to give that respect to LeBron. I do agree with you, Rick, about the comparison to Magic. I do think he's more of a Magic Johnson type of guy. When you talk about the basketball ability, he can score the basketball better than Magic, obviously. He's more athletic than Magic. So those two things kind of stand up. But basketball IQ and dominance of a game and being able to play multiple positions, you always think about Magic being able to play the 4, the 5, the point guard position. So he's in that same conversation with Magic. So I do agree with that comparison. And Michael's a little different. Michael was very unique. Michael was a game timer. He was clutch when it came to playoffs. LeBron James has deferred sometimes in his career. And obviously, he didn't make the big shot, last year. Kyrie Irving made the big shot. And so let's not forget that. So I think sometimes the way how LeBron has got to this point, especially come playoff time, hasn't been great. But I always think about when 2 years ago, he took Golden State 6 games by himself. And so we got to remember some of the good things that he's done, too.
Let's go to Armand in Washington, D.C., listening to us on 980 ESPN. Go ahead, Armand.
Good afternoon. I think LeBron is past Jordan. You just got to look at the stats. He's past him in the record books, and he's putting up numbers and making records that Jordan has never done. Doing records that people haven't done in like 50 years. And also, he just makes his teammates better. You can put LeBron on any team, I think, and he's just going to make them better. Whereas Jordan is just Jordan. LeBron can play with anybody, and he will. Simulate his game to whatever you do and then still continue to put up the numbers that he was putting up before.
I mean, you're kind of making it seem, though, Armand, you're kind of making it seem like Michael Jordan is just an average basketball player. I mean, you're like, Michael Jordan just is Michael Jordan, and LeBron's beating records. Well, there's one record LeBron James hasn't beaten, and that's the NBA Finals record of Michael Jordan, who never lost in the NBA Finals. So, I mean, I think you're kind of marginalizing Michael Jordan there a little bit. At least that's what I took away from that phone call more than anything that you said about LeBron James.
Team game, and if I'm not mistaken, if it wasn't for bad refereeing, the Bulls would have went to the finals without Michael Jordan when he retired. Let's not forget about that.
Okay, I appreciate your phone call. Yeah, Scottie Pippen was a very bad basketball player too. Swan, you want to jump in on that?
Well, you know what, the numbers. I think when people always talk about the numbers, let's put this in perspective. First of all, Michael stayed in college. Came out his junior year, where LeBron came in the league at 18. So he got 3 or 4 years up on him right there, and then Michael missed a year too. So Michael missed a year too in the middle of his career too. So that's why LeBron numbers are. That's why he's been able to catch Michael in so many categories, because we're talking about 4 years Michael didn't play. So no telling what the numbers would be if Michael would have played those 4 years that were missing, that LeBron got a chance to play coming into the league at 18. So the stat game is always hard because now all the guys come out now at 18, 19 years old, where back in the old days, guys were staying in school 3-4 years. So these young guys got a 3-4 year advantage when it comes to the stats and being able to catch up and numbers wise.
Well, Rick, he brought up, Armand did bring up one thing, though, that we were actually talking about during the break, which was if you took LeBron James and say you put him on the Nets, do they make the playoffs?
Yeah, and they probably get past the first round of the playoffs with LeBron James. I mean, you say the same thing about the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, that's just the kind of player he is. I mean, when you start talking about the most versatile player in the NBA, can guard all 5 positions, could probably play all 5 positions, it's LeBron James. And I think what people hold against him is just how he's built. Like the fact that you always lean on the fact that he's hesitant to take the last shot. You go back to the All-Star game where Kobe was kind of mocking him a little bit, like, what are you doing? Why are you passing? Take that last shot. I think it's just his mindset. I mean, I played in the NHL, and there's plenty of guys. If you're watching the NHL playoffs right now, Ryan Getzlaf, right? He's not going to be considered the greatest of all time, but when you look at the size of him, the physicality of him, he's just different. Like, he's 6'4", 230 pounds. Like, he's like physically the LeBron James of the NHL, and he would rather pass the puck than shoot the puck. Now, I'm sure it drives his coaches crazy that he's got such a good shot he should shoot, but that's just how he's built. Like, he gets more pleasure out of assisting on a goal than scoring a goal, and I think LeBron James is kind of that same way, as opposed to Michael Jordan, where he feels that he's most comfortable in those big moments, and he's willing to take the shot whenever he gets it.
Yeah, if you want competitive series, by the way, Preds, Ducks, good. Smashville, give it up for Nashville as they continue to roll through the playoffs. They're up 3-2 right now on the Ducks. Let's go to Steve in Virginia listening to us on Sports 980. Steve, what's up?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Good show.
Good.
Hey, everybody's comments are usually affected by their age, and who they watch growing up and everything like that. It's kind of like your favorite car when you're a teenager. But I think that, LeBron, I like him. I got nothing against him. He's a great player. But I think there's a softness to today's players, based on the rule changes and other things. And also just like, it's the snowflake generation. I think there's a psychological and emotional weakness to a lot of these players. And LeBron's been accused of that before, too. I think that set aside Jordan and the Jordan eras, and I do think Dennis Rodman might make LeBron cry in a 7-game series, the worm. But set aside the Bulls, I think whether it's the Cavs or the Heat, LeBron's teams will have a hard time beating the great teams of that era, like Detroit.
But Steve,
gangsters.
Steve, you can say whatever you want about the rules now and that the players of today's NBA are a little softer than before, but LeBron James is 6'9", 275 pounds. I mean, he could score. He could be successful in any era. I don't care when it was.
Physically, you got a point, but I'm talking about emotionally and psychologically. The rap that LeBron's had is that he was soft, and kind of a big baby. But like I said, you take Detroit, Celtics, Lakers, and the Bulls. I think those teams would handle it. The Cavaliers, led by LeBron, or the Heat. Either one.
Right.
I think they'd have.
I appreciate your phone call, Steve. It's interesting. We want to go back to different eras, and I mentioned this last week. It's funny how we remember that it was Larry and it was Magic and that great rivalry those two had. But let's not forget, too, that Magic Johnson had James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Larry Bird had Kevin McHale and the Chief, Robert Parrish. By the way, and I'm leaving off some really great players that were on both those rosters as well. They weren't individuals. And so while Steve brings up a point, well, that era, there were less teams in the NBA. I mean, the league has been expansion. It's been spread out a little bit more. The international influx of players has obviously increased from different eras to this era to what it once was. But, Antoine, your thoughts overall on what Steve had to say there?
Well, you can't – people got to understand, you can't win NBA titles without having a good team. You mentioned Magic with Worthy, Byron Scott, and those guys. When I won the title in 2006, I ultimately played with Shaquille O'Neal, Dwayne Wade, Gary Payton, Alonzo Mourning.
Wait, so are you telling me you had talent on your team?
Yeah, you got to have some talent. So you got to be –
It's amazing how that works out.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
My whole career I've always been, kind of the people's champ in the locker room.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applaud your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Antoine Walker, I want to go back to you because you actually played with both LeBron and Mike. We had a caller say that LeBron's a little bit of a baby, and that's what he was alluding to earlier in the previous segment. What is your takeaway from them, the highs and maybe some of the lows for each of them as far as what their pitfalls were?
Well, I played against both of them, but I had a unique opportunity to be around Michael a lot more than LeBron. Michael came back, and obviously my first 3 years, we were not very good with the Celtics, so they dominated us as far as competitive-wise. I think we won one game out of 3 in 3 years against the Bulls. But the best memories I got of Michael was when in 2001 when he decided to come back, and he called me, and I'm shocked that Michael Jordan picked up the phone and called me and was like, listen, don't say anything. I'm about to make a comeback. I'm trying to come back into the league. I need you to work out with me every day and get the other guys from Chicago in the gym because I want to make a comeback. So Michael Jordan calls you, get on the phone, get the other guys to the gym, and I began training with Michael, me, him, and Tim Grover every day, 4 days a week for the whole summer of his comeback. And to be around him at that age, to see how he trains and prepares himself on a daily basis, on how he eats, how he works out, the individual instruction and how he takes care of his body was a treat for me, and it taught me how to become a better professional athlete. But his dominance, his competitive drive, all Michael talked about was winning championships. All he talked about was winning. Whether we was playing pickup ball, he wanted to win at everything we do. And that's the one thing that kind of stood out to me with Michael, where I say LeBron now is starting to get that edge where he wants to win. I think when he went to Miami, he found it's like my career is going to be based off titles. And I think that's what now we're seeing LeBron at right now. He's about winning titles. He's dominant. He's very controlling now of the players in the locker room, holding them accountable. And that's the one thing that I would say Michael was. Michael made everybody around him, held them accountable. He was a true leader. So it was just those two different things. And now to see LeBron doing this now it's crazy to see that he's kind of picked up on that. And that's what I love about being around both of them. It was a great experience for me to be able to be around Michael at that time and to see how he prepared himself and how he worked, and end up having a great friendship with him and teaching me how to be a competitor and wanting to win. So it was just too different for me because I didn't get a chance to really be around LeBron on a daily basis the way I was around Michael. And I was around Michael for probably 6 or 7 years straight, even after he retired.
Well, it's interesting to me because you talk about that assassin mentality, and that's what I always called the assassin mentality. It doesn't matter if you're playing, tic-tac-toe or any Connect Four. Just the will to want to win. And, Rick, for me, and Jaleel White made some headlines on TMZ lately talking about this, about the pickup games at UCLA and how Kobe Bryant came in, even as an 18-year-old, and beat up all the returning players that were at UCLA. I was there. I was a freshman that year walking in, and there was just something different about Kobe Bryant, and it kind of points to more of that MJ mentality. Kobe had that at a very, very early age. I think, as Antoine, you were just talking about, LeBron has kind of adopted that and learned how to do that. For you, Rick, in all your years in the NHL and playing and being around these athletes at a high level, who else would you say had that kind of same mentality that we're talking about?
You know what's funny, too, and I guess, it's the easy thing to point to as far as what separated, Michael and Kobe from maybe a LeBron James. And you use the word, LeBron learned, how to be an assassin. Some people are just built that way. Like Kobe Bryant was built that way. This is the same guy that was, killing his teammates, calling them Charmin soft in practice. Like that's who he was. That wasn't a learned behavior. And I don't think LeBron James is necessarily that same guy. And I think when you start talking about and making comparisons to Michael Jordan, I think a lot of what you hear now, and we have microphones in our faces right now, and when you turn them on, you make your argument, and people that listen, you kind of formulate their opinion for them, right? So a lot of us that are on the radio now got a chance to watch Michael Jordan play. Antoine Walker got a chance to play with Michael Jordan, train with Michael Jordan. So I think a lot of people on the radio now, because they saw it, are fiercely loyal to Michael Jordan and are protective of his legacy. And I go back to what we dealt with in New York this year with a guy like Odell Beckham Jr., right? Like, people find different ways, and this guy has, 3 of the most historic years ever as a wide receiver, but you want to find different reasons, to criticize him, either punching through the wall in Green Bay, taking a boat trip to Miami. All these things, at the end of the day, and Antoine, you could probably speak on this too, it's funny how after you retire, people have a much higher opinion of your career once you're retired. In the moment, everyone's pretty critical, but once you retire, it seems like you became a better player all of a sudden. I think once LeBron James is said and done and his career is over, I think you'll actually, as a fan, sit back and kind of, reassess what he actually did. Because we kind of romanticize a lot of the stuff that, these athletes in the past, like Lawrence Taylor, all the things he used to do off the field, but he could go on the field and be productive. Michael Jordan, he was going to Atlantic City night before games, gambling all night, and going out and performing. Like, if you were trying to do that stuff now in the moment, I'm sure people on the radio, on TV, would be killing you. But because he was successful and because he's he's retired and gone, you kind of take stock of what he actually did. And I think we'll get to a point now with LeBron James, once he's had the however many finals it is in a row, how many championships he's won, we can actually sit back and really take a real look at what he's able to do. Because, I mean, you're talking about a guy, and this is what frustrates me when we have these conversations, is people want to bring up different errors. They want to bring up that the East is bad. They want to bring up that, no one takes the regular season, seriously anymore. But you're talking about a LeBron James who's going to go to his 7th straight NBA Finals. He has an opportunity after beating a 73-win team last year. 73 wins. That down 3-1. You couldn't have scripted it any better. Wins that series. Could you imagine if he beats a Golden State team that has 2 MVPs, 1 being unanimous, a Defensive Player of the Year, and 5 All-Stars on it? I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be, it'll be interesting to see what the conversation will be then, if he's able to pull this off, and it'll be his toughest feat ever to be able to do this, because it's going to be a tough finals with those 4 guys. So I do agree with you on that. It's tough right now because you're playing and everything, and you're like, man, you want to see him, and I think about the game right now today. When I was shooting threes back in the day, people was telling me, oh, go post up. Why are you shooting threes? You're too big. But the whole game now is about pick and pop. And big guys should be able to step out and shoot threes. So you are right about that, Rick. And when your career's over, people always, got something to say. And people got mad at me when I was in the All-Star game, and the reporter asked me, why you shoot so many threes? I think this All-Star break, I may already had 300 attempts up. And I was like, because it ain't no 4s. He got mad at me. He got mad at me. I was like, yeah, but everybody used to criticize me about shooting threes, and now I can walk the streets and people be like, hey, you could be playing this era now. I was like, yeah. I was like, when I was doing it back then, people hadn't seen the guy my size be able to step out and shoot threes, and now the whole league is doing it.
So what you guys are saying is people might actually like me when my career is actually over in this business. That gives me hope. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
My whole career I've always been, kind of the people's champ in the locker room.
Cavs and Celtics Game 3 tonight, Eastern Conference Finals. Neither one of these two teams tanked. Mark Cuban, though, admitted that his Dallas Mavericks tanked once they were eliminated from playoff contention. This is not a surprise. This isn't something that all of a sudden has been invented this year. Openly talking about it, that's a little bit of a different thing. Rick, I'll start with you on this one. As a competitor, as a professional athlete as you were, tanking, how would you handle that down the stretch of a season? Say you are out of playoff contention.
Now, Sean, did you ask me that question because I spent my entire career with the New York Islanders?
No, I did not.
We were essentially tanking almost every year. No, I mean, listen, in salary cap sports, it's really the only way to build what you're trying to as far as acquiring enough young talent. And I mean, the Cleveland Cavaliers, when LeBron James essentially tanked, right, and rebuilt, you get Kyrie Irving, Wiggins, you got Bennett. So, I mean, they're kind of a product of it. As a competitor, and I think that's what fans need to understand, is that when you start talking about tanking, there's not a player in that locker room that is trying to go out there and lose games. I mean, tanking is, who management or who the coaching staff decides to put on the floor. I mean, there were some times during, my career that we would play a team that had, $50 million on the ice, and we'd have 14. And I think everyone in the building realized that we weren't meant to win that game. Listen, it's something that you obviously, as a fan, don't want to go and see. But when you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, for example, right? Like, there were some – they've been unwatchable, but now all of a sudden Joel Embiid comes back and they start winning games. Now everyone in the building is trusting the process. So it's something you don't want to go through. But, I mean, it really, when you start talking about – some of these teams, and especially the teams that you're not going to get high-priced free agents, it's the only way to really get talent.
Well, Rick, the one situation that I can kind of say that was would consider tanking, I came in the league in 96, so my rookie year, we were 15-67. So I won 15 games my rookie year.
Wow. And
we got to the All-Star break, and ML Carr was the head coach and GM at the time. And it's my rookie year, and I'm playing, and, the process is going well. And he told me at the All-Star break, he was like, listen, I'm going to play you 40 minutes. We're going to use this time for you to get better. Don't worry about wins and losses. Just as a time for you to get better as an individual. And pretty much the second half of the season, I just played 40 minutes, continued to try to get better individually. But we were tanking without them telling me that we were tanking, because we had 2 picks in the lottery the following year. We were trying to get Tim Duncan. We were trying to get in that Tim Duncan sweepstakes, and we ended up getting the 3rd pick and the 6th pick. And we didn't get the 1 pick, so we ended up taking Chauncey Billups at 3 and then Ron Mercer at 6. But teams do tank. They probably won't come out and say it, and now obviously now they're more openly in saying it. But that was the Celtics version that year of tanking. You said, listen, don't worry about wins and losses. We went 15-67, and they were trying to get Tim Duncan, and unfortunately the balls bounced a different way. End up getting Chauncey Billups and Ron Mercer at 3 and 6.
You know what it is too, Antoine? Now, there's certain ways to do it. So it's like the coach coming up to you and telling you, listen, you're going to play 40 minutes regardless. It could be you have a veteran guy, you know the team's not going to make the playoffs, so you decide because he has a shoulder injury or whatever it is that he's playing through, that you tell him, listen, you know what, might as well get this thing taken care of now. That way you're healthy for the start of training camp. But what it does, too, and I think what a lot of these teams are hoping for, is that if you do get the high pick, so the Celtics have you, and they want to develop you. So you're probably not going to win many games. You're trying to get Tim Duncan. But in the same breath, you're also trying to give you opportunities to play in different situations that on a good team, a team competing for the playoffs, you might not have. So they're hoping by year 2 or 3, you've played in so many different situations that, yeah, you're still a young kid, but you have that experience you need that when the team is eventually hopefully good and you do have some veteran presence around you, that you'll be able to succeed. I think that's the perfect way to do it. It doesn't always necessarily work out that way, but I think that's the hope of most of these teams that do it.
That's Rick DiPietro, Antoine Walker with us. I'm Sean Farnham. This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio. And I'll tell you this, guys, I never played a professional sport. I played in college. We didn't tank in college. Nobody tanks in college. All right? But I would also tell you this, living in Los Angeles, in this rebuild process for the Lakers, that down the stretch of this season in particular, and you go to a local coffee shop down the street, whatever, guys were saying, oh, my gosh, the Lakers won last night. How disappointing. So I think fans at the professional level, which is what we're talking about, because Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks and what he talked about once they were eliminated from playoffs this year, they admitted that they tanked. I think it's something that is completely acceptable amongst fans. I think fans want it because fans are like, you know what, you're right. We're not any good right now. We have to get better. The only way we can get better is try to drop in the draft. I mean, this year in particular for Lakers fans, they're thinking about Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, and some of these young talented guards that are available in this upcoming draft in June that you can watch on ESPN television, by the way, and also hear on ESPN radio. But I think it's just to me, go ahead and tank. You're out of the playoff contention. Once you get to that line, I think you're exactly right. Play your younger guys. Try to see what you've got there, because if you don't play them, you might never know exactly what you have to work with moving forward. I don't think fans care.
No, I was in another situation in Minnesota. That situation came up for me too, Sean. I was the older guy on the team, but Minnesota was in a rebuilding situation, and Randy Whitman was the head coach at the time. Came to me after All-Star break and said, "Antoine, I'm sitting you down." He was like, "You can practice if you want to, but your season's done. I'm going to play the young guys. We're going to see what we got. We're going to see what we can build for the future. And, it's unfortunate. I know you still want to play, but we're going to shut you down. And pretty much you can travel with the team. You can do whatever you want to do. We'd love to have you in practice if you want to, but your season's pretty much done." So I've been in that situation before. I was one of those veteran players that they just shut down and wanted to develop the young guys. And I understood that, because obviously they were trying to build for the future, and I wasn't necessarily a part of their future going forward.
I think you just need to rename it, right? You can't call it tanking. It's got to be called like strategic losing or losing with a purpose. Because
you started to become too politically correct on that.
No, but honestly, but realistically, especially in the NBA now, when you start looking at what's going on in the West with Golden State and Cleveland in the East, you need to have answers, right? Like, why go through a whole season trying to chase the playoffs or trying to get that 8th seed and not really having a chance to find out what you actually have as far as your young players are concerned and what you need moving forward? Like, it gives you an opportunity. And I think eventually fans do resent the fact that you're watching. I know as a Jets fan, watching the Jets and now trying to make my mind up. Whether
I'm sorry, Rick.
Even that, dude, I root for the Mets, the Jets and the Knicks. So I'm sitting there through the entire NBA season and the NFL season trying to decide if it's more beneficial to win or lose. And I hate that, but you're right. I mean,
okay, so let me ask you this, Rick. As a Knicks fan, at what point in time this year were you like, man, let's just lose everything the rest of the way out because we got a chance maybe in the lottery to get something that could help this?
Well, what's funny, too, Sean, is that you're sitting here watching it, and rather than do the right thing and lose the games, it's like they were actually winning, and you couldn't be happy because you realized that you're going to fall further and further down this draft, and you're just waiting for them to figure out how to screw it up. There's actually conversations now in New York on Sports Talk Radio, is that now if you're the Knicks and you end up finishing 8th in the lottery, people didn't want them to have the first pick because then they would have the choice. Like, because they felt so strongly that they would screw it up, they would rather them have a pick that they couldn't screw up. This is the guy you got to take him.
You know what's funny, especially about the Knicks and their situation, and I understand why some teams do it, because free agency is so it's so hard to get a player to move and come to your city. You have to build through the draft, and we saw a lot of organizations do it. You see, OKC was able to build through the draft, and they had great picks in Westbrook and Harden and Durant. But for the Knicks, I mean, their best decision that especially Phil Jackson has made has been Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, and he picked him. That's been his best pick. So if you're a Knicks fan, you want him to go back through the draft. He got that one right. So he's got an eye for, looking at these young guys. You got to give him credit for that. So you want the one pick, though. I mean, but it's been some one guys that's been bust. So
right.
I just think
look, they got Porzingis right, but you got to keep him happy. That would be the next thing.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
My whole career I've always been, kind of the people's champ in the locker room.
All right, Mayweather-McGregor fight, that music sets it up beautifully. It's potential. It could happen. We've been talking about it for over a year now. Not since we saw Mr. T take on the Hot Rod, Rowdy Piper, at WrestleMania have we seen two people from different entities join together for a fight. Obviously, this one, McGregor would be putting on the gloves to go against Mayweather. Guys, do you think this thing's actually going to happen?
I think it's going to happen. I absolutely do. And there's too much money involved. I mean, there really is. And for me, if you're Floyd Mayweather, I mean, do you believe at all that you have any chance of losing this fight?
No.
No, right? So if someone's going to say, okay, we're going to have this pay-per-view event, we're going to let you promote it with the help of UFC, and you're probably going to make $300 million, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
And you got to think about it, too. He's only way he's going to fight this guy, the money has to be right. And he's going to want to come out, and the retirement, the money's got to be $300, $400 million for him to come out. I wonder if it's worth it, though. I don't know if it's worth it to come out and take that L, because his pride is so big now. I follow Floyd on social media. I know he loves the money.
Wait, you just said he might take an L. You believe there's a chance he takes an L with boxing gloves on against Conor McGregor?
Anything can happen, man. You never know. You never know.
See, I don't think there's any chance that Floyd Mayweather would lose this fight.
Well, let me ask
in
you
any way, shape, or form.
Would it be a good fight, or would it just be Floyd just total domination?
I think Floyd makes this fight. Floyd makes the fight as good as he wants to. I think he's that good. And you're not talking – and Antoine, I understand – and listen, I could make the same argument because I want to talk myself into being excited for this fight, and I'm obviously going to buy it on pay-per-view, that there's a possible chance that Conor could make this a good fight. If we were talking about a boxer that wasn't necessarily always in great shape, that wasn't regarded maybe the best defensive boxer in the history of the sport, then I would say, yeah, you know what, maybe he could catch him with the left, and maybe it could be interesting, but Floyd will dictate the terms of this fight. Now, my question to you guys is this. So I think we can all safely say that if this fight happens with the lead up to the fight, the press conferences, the back and forth, like everyone, even the casual boxing fan, is going to be interested in watching this fight, right? So
without question.
So he's going to make $400 million. Who knows? I mean, he made $300 million apparently with the Pacquiao fight. We'll say, all right, here's another $300 million. Now, the only way to get the most money out of this entire Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather fight is to have more fights. And the only way that happens, and the only way that people are interested in watching fight number 2, is if Floyd Mayweather maybe decides he wants to take the L in fight number 1.
Okay, but you're basically saying that the fix would be in.
Why wouldn't you?
You're saying the fix would be in?
Sean, for $900 million, I'll fix whatever you want. Is your toilet clogged? I'll fix that.
Oh, you talk about the numbers and what the numbers could be. Brent Okamoto, the ESPN MMA reporter on Mike and Mike earlier this week.
I don't think it will pass Mayweather-Pacquiao of 2015. I mean, obviously that was the fight that took 5 years to make. It was a fight that was constantly being built up to, and the public loved it. It shattered every pay-per-view record that has ever been set. I don't think it will break that record, but, we're living in a time when it's even the difference between 2 years ago and now with the social media, you will not be able to get away from this fight. Even if you're not a fight fan, you're not a sports fan, this fight will find you. It'll be in your life. It's probably been in your life already for the last year. You've been hearing about it. It's impossible to get away from. And I think once the promotion really starts kicking up for this fight, if it does happen, a lot of people who don't normally buy pay-per-views are going to buy this fight. So it would not shock me if it ended up being the richest fight in combat sports history, but I wouldn't bet on that. I would still think Mayweather-Pacquiao would beat it.
Antoine Walker, Rick DiPietro, Sean Farnham here on the Locker Room on ESPN Radio. I'll tell you this, if all respect to Brett, if he doesn't think the promotion of this fight has already started, kind of concerns me, because I think when you talk about winning and losing the fight, here's where Conor McGregor is going to win. Conor McGregor is going to make more money in this one fight than he's made in his entire career. Conor McGregor is going to give us the best press conferences with Floyd Mayweather that we have ever seen in professional combat fighting, whether it's boxing, MMA. It's going to be like something we've never seen before. And the one thing he's right is no one's going to be able to turn away because their eyes are going to be attached. How important is that to bring the numbers in the draw? For you guys, is just the talk and the lead up to the fight?
No, I think, listen, and it's funny. I understand why, you don't want to go out of your way if you're Brett to kind of say that this is going to set some sort of record. But you're talking about, Pacquiao Mayweather. Most of the people that bought that fight, because let's face it, Pacquiao is not a great promoter of fights. Like, he's not going to give you an unbelievable press conference, right? And that's what usually draws the casual fan to the television, is to watch a guy like Conor McGregor strut his stuff, throw water bottles, and just talk trash. We love that. And, I mean, you're going to get MMA fans who are fiercely loyal to MMA are going to buy this fight, and you're going to get boxing fans to buy this fight. And I think you're going to get a lot of people that just see the lead up to the fight and are just entertained by Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather going back and forth, that aren't going to be able to help themselves, and they're going to get the fight. I mean, by the end of this, by the time this thing is all promoted, there'll be plenty of people that actually believe, because he's so good at it, that Conor McGregor actually has a chance in this fight.
And listening to both of you guys now, this fight is going to happen. Like I said, I follow Floyd Mayweather on social media, keep up with him. He's all about the money. So this fight is definitely going to happen. Now that you guys kind of broke it down for me a little bit more with the purses and how much money is really out there, this fight will happen. This is last chance to make a huge payday.
It is, because who else would he fight? If he fought Gigi right now?
No.
All right? If he fought Gigi, he could lose.
Yeah. I mean, even if you fought Canelo, if Canelo Alvarez beats Triple G, I'm not sure Floyd Mayweather wants to put the 49-0 up against Canelo again.
So, I mean, this is one where he goes in, and you're looking at taking someone from a discipline that they're very good at. And Conor McGregor in the MMA world is outstanding. He puts people in the seats. He performs. He's devastating. All those things are true. You cannot take away anything from Conor McGregor's craft and what he excels in. But just as much as he excels in the MMA world, Floyd Mayweather excels in the ring. And you go back and you watch those Manny Pacquiao fights. Those weren't exciting fights because Floyd Mayweather defensively fought his way through and never once had to get outside of his comfort zone. Floyd Mayweather controls the ring. Look, I'm not talking about anything else besides what Floyd does in the ring. And what he does in the ring is he is a defensive fighter that can move you around and never allow you to feel in rhythm. And I think that'd be very frustrating for a guy like Conor McGregor because the MMA style is so very different than what he would see inside the ring.
No, you're absolutely right. And again, I think that if you love Conor McGregor, you start pointing at the fact that, now Conor McGregor's not going to have to worry about takedowns and kicks, and the fact that Conor McGregor is a lefty and Floyd has in the past had some trouble with lefties. But, I mean, you could equate this to this, right? If you told any major league pitcher right now in baseball that we're going to give you $5 million, and you're going to have to face Tim Tebow. And if Tim Tebow gets a hit off you, you don't make the $5 million. There's not one Major League Baseball pitcher that's not going to take that bet.
Although Tim's hitting the ball much better as of late. Just throwing that out there. Just want to let everybody know.
That's for the Fireflies, though, Sean. That is for the Fireflies.
Well, the way the Mets are playing right now, there might be a chance that the Fireflies come up. It's top of the third, 8-0.
Well, listen, only Jesus is going to save them at this point, I think.
Well, there's a chance then. All right, Antoine, your thoughts on whether or not this fight would be any intrigue to you. Mike and Mike earlier this week, Graney was on saying the first 11 rounds should be a boxing match. The last one could be full MMA rules. Obviously, that would never happen. It would be interesting to see if it did. But Conor McGregor does have a good left. He can knock you out with one punch. Can he get close enough? Can Floyd Mayweather, can he slow him down or trap him enough where he can actually land one, though?
I'm a little biased. I'm a Floyd Mayweather fan, just as a boxing fan. I like the way Floyd boxes. He gives you a boxing match. You only get 12 rounds out of him. So I really enjoy watching him fight. I would love to see him back in the ring, get to 50-0. Fighting Conor is tough because I don't, when you fighting somebody like that you're not used to, I mean, it's no film out there. I mean, usually with Mayweather, he gets to study guys and really, hone in on his opponent. Conor could shock him a little bit. So I think it'll be a real interesting fight. I do think Mayweather's going to win. I think he'll win in 12 rounds, but I do believe it'll be an interesting fight. It won't be as lopsided as everybody's saying it would be.
You know what the difference, too, is, though, Sean, and Antoine, is we talk about, when you watch Conor McGregor fight in the MMA, right? Like you've seen a couple times where he's actually stepping back and can knock you out with his left. That's 4-ounce gloves. 8-ounce boxing gloves, it's not necessarily always the power, it's the precision. And because Floyd is so good with the precision of his punches, it's hard. And I'm trying to talk myself into thinking this is going to be a good fight. But
Here's the funny thing about what we're doing. Okay, so we're all agreeing. We all think Floyd Mayweather would win the fight. All right, just real quickly. You buying the fight, Antoine?
I'm going to the fight.
Okay, fine. You're going to the fight. That's a very different price range than what I have. All right, Rick, you buying the fight or going to the fight or not watching it?
Sean, I look at pay-per-views like I look at boats. It's better to have a friend that owns a boat than buy your own boat. So if Antoine's going to the fight and he's my friend, then I think I'm going to the fight.
This is The Locker Room on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
My whole career I've always been kind of the people's champ in the locker room.
We're talking Conor McGregor taking on Floyd Mayweather, the potential fight that lies in front of us. And we're also asking you this. Who else would you want to see? An NBA versus NFL player, Major League Baseball, whatever. They actually get in a ring and fight and settle their score. We'll start with Nick in Indiana listening to us on 1380 ESPN. Nick, what's up? How you doing?
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I guess what I want to say is Conor McGregor is an MMA fighter. They use 4-ounce gloves. Obviously, that's a portion of those fights, but it's a different discipline. It would be no different than saying, "Hey, Ronaldo is a great ball kicker, so let's make him a field goal kicker in the NFL." It's similar, but it's not the same. Or a Nolan Ryan couldn't throw a football like Brett Favre, but he could throw a baseball.
I don't know. Nolan warmed up with a football before he would start his bullpen sessions. There was a Stadium Club baseball card that I think came out in 1990, 91 that had Nolan with a football in his hand. Nick, I'm just saying. But yes, I think we agree, Nick. I mean, every one of us were saying that. Look, so you're saying, Nick, that you think Floyd Mayweather walks away with this thing?
Absolutely. It's for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's never lost, and he's gone against the best boxers in the world. Is Conor McGregor one of the top or elite boxers in the world? No,
but he's a great talker.
He's
a great talker too.
Right? Sure. I mean, is this a promotion or is it a boxing match?
I think it's both.
Are you buying the fight, Nick? Would you buy it?
As long as it's not $100, probably.
You're buying it. Stop.
Okay.
It could be $200.
You're buying it, Nick.
Well, Nick, it's going to be $100, Nick.
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call. See, here's the funny thing. So Nick, and no disrespect to you, Nick, and we appreciate your phone call. You're sitting there saying, it's this. We know what's going to happen. We know this. It's like a train wreck, though. It's like an accident on the opposite side of the freeway that you slow down for. You're buying it. You're watching it. I promise you that. I can't imagine. Look, I'm not even a big MMA guy. I've kind of, boxing I used to love boxing when I was growing up and watching Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns. Of course, Mike Tyson was how soon was he going to knock out whoever he was facing. This one is a little bit different, but yet it's still it's can't miss television. It's appointment television. I don't care who you are, whether you like it or not, Antoine.
Yeah, and this is what Mayweather does. I mean, he's the guy that is going to build the fight up to never before. And then, like you said, and I didn't really think about it, you're right, the press conference is going to be great in the different cities they promote this fight. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think this fight's going to take place in Vegas, or they got to go to a bigger venue?
Dallas. It should be in Dallas and Dallas Cowboy Stadium.
Well, I think when you start, so this was a couple months ago.
That would be what I say.
Fellas, this is a couple months ago when people were talking about this fight, or initially started talking about this fight, and it sounded like it was going to actually happen. So you could actually vote for the fight in Vegas, and they had the date set for New Year's. And now I know that Floyd has certain dates he likes to fight, but the Triple G Canelo fight now is actually going to be in September. So I think a lot of people feel like if this thing is going to happen maybe towards the end of the year, and as far as you have two of the most polarizing people in all of professional sports fighting. I mean, to sit there and think that you're not going to draw, millions of eyeballs to televisions to watch these guys fight. And oh, by the way, Nick, speaking of, kicking balls, Ronaldo is great, but Draymond Green is also pretty good at it too.
Oh, wow. Hey, there's a shot. Speaking of a shot, let's go to Hawaii. Aloha and mahalo, Steve, listening to us on 1420 ESPN. Steve, what's up?
Hey, guys. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Hey, I just want to say I appreciate you guys keeping it real. Your previous caller, absolutely he's going to buy the fight, whether it's $100 or $200. If he's got the time to if he has the time to call you guys and talk about the subject, absolutely he's going to take the time out and the dollar out of the quality of the fight. Now, speaking about the fight, absolutely I would buy the fight because I'm assuming that Mayweather would take this fight and fight Conor McGregor exactly how he fought Pacquiao. Pacquiao wanted to brawl. He didn't want to box. And he's got to expect the same thing out of Conor McGregor. Those two are going to get in the ring. Mayweather has to stick to his game and do exactly what he does best, which is be one of the most precision technical boxers of our time. Conor's going to try his hardest to rattle him, to get him out of his zone, to make it into a brawl. If Floyd Mayweather does what he does best, it's not going to happen. And as far as seeing who I'd like to see fight, I'd like to see Bo Jackson and Big Old Bosworth duke it out.
All right,
that'd be a good fight.
That would have been a good one like maybe 25 years ago. I don't think either one of them would have much left in the tank right now to go after one.
Sean, you know what the beauty of this whole fight's going to be is that when you watch, for the most part, now Antoine is a Floyd Mayweather guy, but there's plenty of people out there that hate Floyd Mayweather, right? And they want to watch the fight. They want to pay for the fight to see him get the crap kicked out of him, right? So you're in a situation now where I don't think a lot of people, as much money as you spent and as much money was made on the Pacquiao fight, I don't think people necessarily felt that strongly about Manny Pacquiao, right? There weren't many people that were buying that fight to see Manny Pacquiao get beat up because you hated him, right?
Yeah. No,
but,
I
mean,
agree.
I guess the point is this, though, is that you have plenty of people that can't stand either of these guys and would pay just to see one of them get beat up.
They're polarizing figures. They're lightning rods.
Yep.
You just stick them out there and let them go. And I think that they're going to make money not only off the fight. I think that their press conferences are going to be for pay, and that you're going to have to pay a fee to watch their press conferences because it's going to be that entertaining and that crazy as they lead up to the potential fight between Mayweather and McGregor.
Thanks for listening to the Locker Room Podcast. Make sure to subscribe by clicking the Listen tab on the ESPN app.